Peace and blessings be upon you. Welcome to the greatest struggle, overcoming you. My name is Paul McCoy, and I'm your host. Remember, not everyone needs a clinician, but everyone can use some encouragement. This is a program where we actually come together to figure out what it is in ourselves that are holding us back from having that ultimate success that we want to have in life. Remember, you can't run away from self. And the things that affect us the most are those things that are internal, not the things that are external. Now, from our last session, remember I asked that you bring three things. The first thing is an open mind, an objective way to look at yourself and the way that you look at the material. Hopefully, you'll see that it's positive and you'll be able to take it along with you so that you can better your life. The second thing is a pen, and the third thing would be a notebook. Now, the reason that you want this pen and this notebook, especially now, and hopefully you'll agree with me by the end of this session, that you needed the pen and notebook because we want you to be able to write down certain things that we're going to talk about and use it to allow you to do some homework so that you could give yourself a self-assessment so that we can begin to do the work of overcoming us and undoing some of the things that happened to us early in life. Now, during the last session, we talked about a word, and that word was criticism. We talked about constructive criticism, and we talked about destructive criticism. Criticism that helps and criticism that hurts. Now, the way that we think about things, the way that we internalize them, the way that we process them, didn't just start today. Those things were with us for a very, very long time, and many of those things started with us when we were children. Now, I want to use criticism as a gateway, as a portal of such, to take you back into your childhood and have you think about how it was that you were raised when you were younger. What type of household were you raised in? Were you raised in a happy environment? Were you raised in an environment where you received encouragement? Were you told that you were good and you could do anything that you want to do? Or were you raised in a household that was more pessimistic, where there was almost nothing that you could do that was right and almost everything you did was wrong? You know, when we think about where we come from and how it is that we process things, we forget how it was when we were children. And in our formative years, when we're being taught lessons, if we're not taught the lessons the proper way, then we come up and normalize bad things as if they were good. So let me give you an example. When I was younger, if I did something wrong, my grandparents, especially my grandparents, because I spent a lot of time with them, my parents, my aunts, my uncles, they would come to me and they would say, hey, you didn't do this right. Do it this way. This is the best thing. That was great. But while I was growing up, I had friends who lived around me. When they did something wrong, their parents or the people who were responsible for them called them stupid. You can't do anything right. Why do you try to do it that way? You'll never learn. If you were raised in an environment like this and you don't have self-confidence, is there any type of doubt why it is that you don't have self-confidence? It's not that you were stupid. It's not that you didn't know how to do things, or maybe it was that you didn't know how to do things, but the fault was not yours. The fault lies with the individual, the parent, the guardian, the person in authority who used that type of language with you when you did something wrong. This was criticism. But those people probably didn't think that they were doing anything wrong, because if you look back in their history, you'll also find that the way that they dealt with you as a child, they too were dealt with the same way when they were children. When people talk about generational curses, things that are passed down that are bad, this is basically, in a lot of ways, what they're talking about. You could break this type of generational curse, and you could break the curse with you. How is it that you are going to be able to internalize criticism? You can make criticism a crutch. You can make criticism something that will bring about fear in you, that will stop you from going out and trying things that are going to better you. You can allow this fear because you don't want to be criticized because it's going to hurt you. Now in life, you find people who take criticism, and that criticism, they use it for fuel. They fuel themselves. There's something inside of them that says, you know what? You say I can't do this. You say that I'm doing something wrong. I am going to show you. I am going to be better than you. I'm going to be better than most people, and I am going to win. Those people have something within them that's very special. They found strength. They found that inner soul. God didn't create us not to be successful. Within themselves, they found that if I do things the right way, I will be successful. Now, it's really hard to overcome certain things when it's been ingrained in you. You've been dealing with this thing for your whole life where people didn't put their faith and didn't instill you with confidence. Confidence is a beautiful thing. And confidence is something that people who are successful exude. They have it because they were constantly encouraged. If you were brought up in that situation where people were highly critical of you, you don't have to keep that same mindset. You can look at those individuals and you can look at what they were saying and you can say, okay, you know what? That was their life. That was their plight. What they have to say no longer applies to me. So when you learn that their criticism doesn't have an effect on you, you can begin to look at criticism in a different way. You can look at criticism, all criticism, as constructive. Maybe there is a little truth to what it is that someone is saying about me. Why did I spend all of this time talking about criticism? Because earlier I told you that we're going to help you to pull up a strategy, to figure out a strategy for you to be able to have the difficult conversations with yourself. Having the difficult conversations with yourself happens to be you going out and doing a self-assessment. For you to be able to take a critical look at yourself and be able to point out the things that you see that needs work, because there are no broken people. They're just situations for improvement. So you'll be able to look at yourself in a critical way. Now, in order to have those honest conversations with yourself, you have to become comfortable with criticism. You have to become comfortable with people assessing you. So what I would like for you to do is, I want you to think about 3 people in your life that you trust. 3 people in your life that you know wouldn't put you in a bad way. That if they're saying something to you, they're not going to try to hurt you, but they really want you to be better in life. Why am I asking you to get these 3 people? Why am I asking you to make sure that they're going to put you in a safe environment? It's because I want you to ask them questions about you. What do you think of me as a friend? What are my best qualities? What are the things that I need to do to become a better person? Where do I fall short at? These are very difficult questions. And if you can ask the people who love you who support you and who want the best for you, and ask them to be completely honest with you, in the beginning, when they're telling you about you, you may feel bad about it. You may not internalize it the way that they're giving it, but you may internalize it the way that um, it comes to you. But this is really, really essential if you want to be better, because when people on the outside look at you and they see you, they don't truly see you, they see aspects of you. A person who works with you doesn't see everything that a person who lives with you will see. A person who is not related to you may not see you in the same way as someone who is related to you. Someone who just met you a year ago isn't going to see you the same way that someone who has known you your whole entire life. So you ask these individuals only after you think about the type of life that you lived before. After you come to a reconciliation within yourself to know that criticism isn't a bad thing. That criticism is something that's going to help you push forward in life. When you can sit down and have them talk to you and not be defensive when they're telling you things about you, and you write them down, once you get that information, you can begin to look at yourself and undress yourself. Undress your fears. See if how you think of yourself, if these other individuals think of you the same way. And if they don't, if you look at yourself differently, then ask yourself, why do I look at myself differently than that? This is going to be of the utmost importance. Because in overcoming you, when you're able to look at yourself in a critical way, in an objective way, then you can begin to say, okay, these are the things that I do well. I need to capitalize on these things. These are the things that I don't do so well. These are the character traits that I want to change. And if you see that within yourself, then you don't need the outside to help you. That internal, that thing that God created in you will help you to overcome those things that are affecting you. Something else too. Once you realize that there are people in your life, even now, see, when you go back and you do that, you take that travel down memory lane, and you see how people were critical of you and people weren't there to help you, and you know how those people made you feel. As an adult, you may find that there are people like that still in your life who are not there to help you, who are there to pull you down. If they're there, then you need to remove yourself from those individuals, because they will continue to help you to have negative self-talk. There's another word. The last session we talked about criticism. During our next session, we're going to talk about negative self-talk. And along with negative self-talk, we're also going to talk about self-limiting beliefs. So I hope that this session has been constructive for you. I hope that it's been beneficial. And just for a recap, you want to be able to understand, number one, that criticism has no power. The only power that it has is the power that you place in it. That all criticism can be looked at as constructive. Constructive in a couple of ways. This is something that I didn't talk about, but I need to put it here. Constructive in a way for you to say, okay, this is something that I may need to change within me. This is helping me. Or constructive in a way to where if someone constantly criticizes you and all they do is criticize you, maybe I don't need to be around them. Constructive in the point to where you eliminate individuals who aren't there to help you on this journey, of overcoming you. Asking people who know you in different situations about who you are, what you do, what are their thoughts about you, what are some of the things that you can improve, what are some of the things that you do well in. This way, it's an honest critique. And an honest critique, instead of just when we think of criticism, this critique is good and bad. It gives us an opportunity to really do some real self-check so that we can begin to do it on our own. Compare and contrast what it is that they think about you and what it is that you think about yourself. You can write this down. You should write it down. That's why the pen and the pad are of the utmost importance. Because by writing those things down, contemplating on them, what you're doing is you're building a database for yourself where you could go back and check to see those things that I was doing wrong or those things that I wanted to improve on, did I improve on them? Because we're going to talk about goals and setting goals, but we have to get to these points first. We have to do the preliminaries first. And once we are able to write these things down, do the things that we need to do as far as thinking about them, then we're ready to have the critical look at ourselves. And we can look at ourselves in an objective way and understand that just because I find things in me that I know that can be improved, it doesn't make me bad. It means that I am growing as a person and I will be able to achieve what I want to achieve. So remember, not everyone needs a clinician, but everyone needs some encouragement. So during our next session, or better than that, I think that what I want to do is between now and our next session, if things tickled your brain, if there was things that were good that you got from this session, please note it down in the comment section. If you have questions, if something was occurred to you that you say, hey, you know what? I've been struggling with this for the longest. Put it down in the comments. If you have questions about anything that we talked about tonight, put your questions down in the comments. And what I'll do is between this session and the next session, depending on the type of feedback I get, I'll take the opportunity and do shorter videos and answer those questions and give some encouragement and some instruction on what you're going through as you pass through this process. I think it's really going to be important for you guys to have good positive feedback, and I need good positive feedback for myself. Again, my name is Paul McCoy. This is The Greatest Struggle, Overcoming You. We're getting to a point to where we're going to be able to start strategizing and putting together a plan to help me and you to overcome ourselves. Thank you very much. Peace and blessings.